Campbell. Joining me is meteorologist James Gregorio.
Hey.
You may have caught us at 11, and we're back.
We're back.
All right, James. So for anybody that didn't get to join us at 11, we're kind of breaking down the local weather, but we'll also have some national weather to go over as well, and then a little sneak peek into some turkey talk. Right? We got Thanksgiving.
Exactly.
It's right around the corner.
Turkey talk goes with travel talk. So we'll have some of that. And we might have a couple of volcanic eruptions as well. How about that?
Yeah, we like that. All right, so let's start off with our headlines. 3 things to know. It's rain-free and warm. No surprise there. This is the pattern that we get set up in for this time of the year, which is not good for our drought conditions. We're going to talk about that too. Also, patchy fog next couple of mornings. James, you were here on Monday when,
it was thick.
It was thick.
Problematic. Yeah, we had a weather impact alert because of the fog, and the issue is, you could be driving along and there's no fog, and then you hit this blanket of fog here and everyone in front of you kind of slowed down because of the fog and the poor visibility, and boom, before you know it, you rear-ended the car in front of you, and then you've got much bigger problems. So the moral of the story is just slow your roll and anticipate as much as you can, perhaps some of those pockets of fog when we do have them. So that's why fog is a pretty important thing.
Yep. Yeah, and then moving on to our third headline, talking cooler by turkey time and that side of showers. So those are all the topics we're going to go through and a little bit more too. So we hope you stick with us for this next half hour. Let's start with some local conditions here. You're not going to see much, right?
No.
Surprise, surprise.
Nice and quiet.
Yeah, those winds are pretty pleasant. We have our daily sea breeze that's set up there. So across the land, most of you have that northeasterly wind. However, if you go out into the Gulf, have a little bit of a change up in that wind direction, kind of a northerly wind that's taking place there. But yeah, pretty nice conditions as you look outside.
Quiet. Yeah, we need the rain, but if we're not going to get the rain, at least we're going to have these really pleasant conditions. High temperatures, lower to middle 80s, and I think tomorrow we're also going to be in the mid 80s. So yeah, it's just been phenomenal, but it's kind of a yin and yang, feast or famine sort of thing, because the phenomenal weather comes at a cost, and that is our lack of rain and our drought conditions, which we'll touch on as well.
Yeah, yep. So we have that front up to the north of us that's draped over, and it looks promising, but it's a little too far up to the north. Now, we will have a weaker front move through our area this upcoming weekend, but is it going to bring us a lot of rain?
I think no.
Yeah.
Let me go out on a limb and say no.
James is like, no.
I'm going to call that one right now and say no. But at least, we kind of live by so many sayings in the weather world. Some of them may be cliche. Some of them may have been born out of reality and what tends to happen. One of those sayings is drought begets drought. So the longer the drought goes on, the harder it is to break out of it. So even if we just get minimal kind of spits and drizzles for precip on Sunday, at least we would get some measurable precip, and that would only be the second time this month that we actually saw measurable precip. So, once we get a couple little events, maybe that triggers sort of a chain reaction, and a pattern change is exactly what we need to happen here.
Yeah, James, since you're on the drought category, let's just talk about these numbers, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of, I was shocked myself. Tampa already 8 inches in the hole for that rainfall deficit. Not looking good.
Yeah, Sarasota has fared. That's pretty amazing. Tampa and Sarasota aren't that far apart.
Right.
And Sarasota is only, less than 2 inches in the deficit. We're more than 8 inches in the Tampa area.
Yeah.
So that's pretty amazing. Obviously, as you go northward from Sarasota to Tampa, we're over 8 inches down, up to Brooksville, 16 inches down. So as you head towards the Nature Coast, they've really been hammered. So I suspect when the new drought monitor comes out tomorrow, we're going to be talking about areas in maybe even portions of Citrus County, areas in the Nature Coast that might be upgraded from the moderate drought to maybe even severe drought. So I think you're going to see some pretty big changes on that map tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I agree. Speaking of the drought monitor, so as James was just mentioning, we get the new version out tomorrow. This is the version from the past week. So basically all of the data that we get throughout the week is ingested, and then every Tuesday it's updated, but we don't get that release until Thursday. So we get the goodies tomorrow.
Right.
That's when we will have the newest drought monitor. But the cutoff time, because this has been a question in the past, James, right? So viewers will say, oh, well, we got so much rain. Say that we got rain Wednesday, and the drought monitor is released on
It would
Thursday.
have no bearing on it.
Yeah, it just missed that window
Right.
because the cutoff time is Tuesday. So that's where it comes into play. So sometimes you may not see the things reflected until a run or two later of the drought monitor.
Right.
But in this case, I mean, we haven't had measurable rainfall, beneficial rainfall for quite some time.
Right. So this one's a slam dunk here.
Yeah.
So your sixth grader could probably update the drought monitor. This one's pretty easy. I mean, there's been no measurable. I mean, literally one time this month we had some rain, and that was only 7/100ths of an inch when we had it back on November 9th. So yeah, I mean, this is going to be an easy call, I think, for the folks at the Weather Service, massaging the data on this one.
Yeah. Now, as James pointed out a second ago, notice Crystal River, they are just in that abnormally dry category.
Yeah, they'll go to moderate, I'm sure. I'm sure that moderate swath will be pushed well to the north. And, I don't know if you could zoom out on that map, but we have severe and extreme. Look at the extreme drought in the Panhandle and over towards Jacksonville.
Yep.
So I think that extreme red coloring is going to be pushed further southward. You're going to see the moderate drought, the tan taupey color, that's kind of infringing upon the Nature Coast. That's going to be pushed further northward. So what you're going to see, I think, is a larger area of moderate drought, less yellows, which are just abnormally dry, and or some of the abnormally dry conditions pushed over to the East Coast. So, Colleen, you brought up a really good point earlier when we did the show at 11:30. The east coast of Florida benefited from the tropical systems, although they weren't landfalling. They still got the outer bands and maybe some leftover showers with those, which did bring beneficial rains, to the Space Coast, areas like that. And we didn't have that here in southwestern Florida.
Yeah. Last year we had 3 back-to-back systems, so we definitely were in a surplus last year. But yes, you're seeing the east coast of Florida highlighted in gray, meaning that they're not under drought
conditions. That's just the regular map.
conditions.
Yeah, that's just the regular base map. So they've got no, drought conditions, or they're not even abnormally dry. They're exactly where they should be. That's what that gray color means.
Yeah. But if this all continues,
Right.
they probably will be joining us when we talk drought conditions. All right, it's also burn bans, which goes hand in hand with the drought
Lack of
monitor.
water, right.
Yes, so starting off wide here, looking across the states, now these are determined by each county jurisdiction. So, some counties, like here locally, let's take a zoom in here, because you're not going to see the entire map lit up. So this is where it gets a little bit different, where the Florida Forest Service, they basically issue these burn bans with community leaders, with the county leaders. Hillsborough County and Pinellas County, as well as out there by Orlando, they have a year-round burn ban. So, you can't burn throughout the year. But places like Manatee and Sarasota counties and Hardee County have all been added to that burn ban recently. So this is another thing that's updated, not every day. Again, it really goes by the counties. Manatee County, I have a friend, hey Francesca, if you're watching, she works for the office there, the county office, and she was saying that they decided to extend their burn ban because sometimes they'll just put it in place for a couple days, especially if there's windy conditions, which thankfully we don't have to worry about the winds.
Right.
But if we have the lack of rainfall, the low humidity, and the wind, that's when you start seeing those red flag warnings, and we have to worry about wildfires starting and spreading. Thankfully, the winds are light enough that we're okay, but if this was a windy day and we had super low dew points, we would be talking those red flag warnings.
Exactly, and good point. We should mention that those burn bans are county specific, so it's up to the counties to decide whether they want to issue one or not.
Yeah.
Whereas on the drought monitor, that's more of a statewide thing, and state climatologists and stuff like that.
Right. All right, so the forecast set up for this upcoming week, not getting into Thanksgiving quite yet, but the next few days, this is what we've been working through. This area of high pressure, big bubble, no trouble, right? It is just sinking, drier air, basically undisturbed. There's not really any lift going on in our atmosphere. The dew points are lower. And that will start to break apart a little bit, that high pressure. But until then, it's going to be pretty warm and dry here for the next few days. Now, this upcoming weekend, we do have a front moving through. Although it's weak, we could get a few showers, but when we say few, it's highlight on the few.
Yes.
1/10 of an inch, Maybe less than that.
If that, right.
Yeah. All right, we're going to go to a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll talk some weather across the nation.
Before hurricane season hits, it's time to prep your home. Familiarize yourself with where your water shutoff valve is located. If backflow prevention devices are installed, get them tested annually.
Those are some great tips, and Cool Today is here to help you weather the storm. For over 60 years, we've been here to help Floridians with their cooling, plumbing, and electrical needs. We can help you prepare, protect, and repair your home. Call 888-40-TODAY.
I was driving when a Ford pickup truck barreled into me from behind, sending me to the hospital.
I knew my husband was going to need an excellent attorney, so I called Dan Newland.
I'm so glad my wife called Dan. Dan really fought for me. He won my case and got me $650,000.
If you've been involved in a car accident, allow me to fight for you. Call me now at 813-888-8000.
Thanks, Dan, for winning my husband's case.
This autumn, give your home the upgrade it deserves. Save up to 20% during California Closet's Autumn Upgrade event, making it easier than ever to transform your space with our select finishes. Whether it's a walk-in closet, home office, pantry, or garage, our designs are about more than organization. They're about creating space for what belongs. We call it practical magic, expert design that feels effortless. Visit one of our 3 Tampa Bay showrooms or schedule your complimentary consultation today at CaliforniaClosetsTampaBay.com.
Windows are created and installed with different levels of quality. Unique quality that can withstand the tropical climate. Our installers only install PGT custom windows and doors, so we are the go-to experts. Don't take my word for it. We have been named Best of Tampa Bay 3 years in a row, Reader's Choice in Sarasota 3 years in a row, and nationally recognized as Window and Door Dealer of the Year. Price is what you pay, but value is what you get. Give WeatherTight Windows a call today, and don't forget the cookies.
All right, welcome back. So we're going to talk some national weather, and it's been cold in California.
It has. Cold enough to snow, in fact.
Yes. So I think we have a live look from the China Ski Resort? China Peak. China Peak. There it is. Nice amount of snow. Kind of looks like it has some wetness to that snow, too.
Definitely looks like a wet, sloppy snow, right?
Good for making a snowball.
Kind of clingy, yeah. Awesome for a snowball fight.
Yeah, not so good for skiing. Kind of want the powdery stuff.
You
for
do,
skiing, right?
Yeah. But so I suspect then temperatures are right on the line. They were very marginal, just barely cold enough to snow. But that snowfall to liquid ratio was probably something super low, like 6 or 7 to 1, meaning like. That ratio, like 6 inches of snow to 1 inch of liquid equivalent. Whereas in some of the bigger snow events where you have dry air in place, that ratio could be 20 or 30 to 1. That's why, or even with lake effect snow, that's why you get so much more snow out of it. So this one is a kind of gloppy, just cold enough to snow.
Yeah. All right, and then I think we're heading over to Breckenridge.
Yeah, Colorado.
One of my favorite spots.
From California to Colorado here.
Yeah,
Breckenridge, Summit County.
Yeah,
awesome.
Still have that gray sky in both pictures, so there's a side-by-side comparison.
Great ski town.
Yeah, and it's beautiful in August too, when before the snow really gets going, and you're at the tail end of summer. It's nice and crisp and cool at night.
Really good mountain biking there. A lot of the ski resorts in the summertime. So Breckenridge elevation is like 12,000 feet. So altitude sickness is a thing when you're out there.
Yeah, and I noticed, you really only see snow on the ground. You don't see too much on, those higher peaks and
still
on the
early
higher
in the
trees.
season, yeah. So they're going to get plenty of natural snow, and they'll make snow as well. So, they'll be fine. But I know when I was out there, it was either January or February, many years ago. You heard them avalanche blast. So you heard like the dynamite going off in the morning.
Cool.
So they to try to induce, not induce an avalanche, but kind of blast different, portions of the mountain.
Break it up,
and therefore to prevent avalanches from happening.
Yeah. All right, so now let's talk about why. It's been one of the reasons why we've had some chillier temperatures, which we don't have the numbers. I know, James, you were just talking about certain map. The one you showed earlier had the actual temperature that it's out. But it was like 50 degrees, you said, in
LA earlier. Now it's, I think, closer to 60, but still kind of cool. And one of the reasons why is you see that dip in the jet stream. It's weird. It's like the jet is sort of split. So the main branch of the jet is well to the north, and then you have this sort of branch that's kind of split off. There it is down.
Low.
You see, you're right. You see exactly. You see the cutoff low, which is aptly named cutoff low because it's separated from the jet stream, and those things just sit and spin, and it's like a rowdy house guest that won't go anywhere. It's like that summertime shore guest that said, "Oh, thanks for inviting me for the weekend. Yeah, you don't mind if I stay for a month?"
Yeah, right.
So that's kind of what that is, and a lot of times it leads to some nasty flooding and problems because it is cut off from the prevailing upper air pattern, and there's nothing to move it out of the way. Look at that. That cutoff low is still sitting there.
Yeah, this is going into this weekend,
Yeah.
Saturday.
Yeah.
Now we're going into about Monday.
It looks like it finally catches up with the jet and
Yeah.
kind of gets nudged out of here early in the weekend.
Yeah, the
early
jet's
next
like,
week.
get up here.
Exactly. Right? So finally there it goes, gets
Yeah.
absorbed or
Whoops.
just dissipates.
That's that tilt I was telling you about. Yeah.
Look at that polar
Sometimes-
air.
I
up
know. Sometimes our graphics do wild things. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so we will have a little bit of a dip in temperatures as we move toward Thanksgiving, but not getting there quite yet, and it's not going to be a dramatic change. Nothing like we saw for Veterans Day. Now, this is your travel forecast for this upcoming weekend. Some folks do like to get travel started a little bit early, right? Kind of beat the rush, especially with all the headlines we've had with airports lately. And playing this out, you can, again, associated with that cutoff low, you do notice that they have that rain that will be out by Los Angeles to Vegas once that low does start to make its journey off to the east and eventually the northeast. And, and across the plains, too, they also have, disturbed weather that's out that way.
Yeah, and some severe weather as well.
Yeah.
Not that I'd imagine there's a lot of folks visiting, flying to Topeka, Kansas, but St. Louis and that batch is going to kind of move into Chicago and O'Hare and Midway and some busy airports there as well. Yeah. O'Hare used to be the busiest airport in the country, so that has since been superseded, I believe, by Hartsfield International in Atlanta. So either way, still a very, very busy airport. So we have weather like that. That's problematic.
Yep. Yeah. And of course, by this weekend, we have that moisture that's pulling off toward the New England area. So
exactly. That's Saturday. So you have more rain moving through the Mid-Atlantic from D.C. to Baltimore, further northward up to Newark and New York City, and in towards the Cape and Boston. So you're hitting millions of people in the path of that round of rain and what could be some heavy rain as well.
Yeah. So travel plans. Maybe leaving a little bit of extra time if you're either going west or you're going across the Midwest or the Northeast. But here locally, really not bad. Now, I know all of you are getting your Thanksgiving plans in place, and after the break, we're going to talk about what to expect for Turkey Day.
I was involved in a very bad car accident. Called attorney Dan Newland, and it was like 1, 2, 3. Dan really got it done for me. At the end of my case, he got me $525,000.
As one of the largest personal injury law firms in the United States, my team and I remain committed more than ever to win big on your case. Involved in a car accident? Let's get started. Call me at 813-888-8000.
Thank you, Dan, for winning my case.
This autumn, give your home the upgrade it deserves. Save up to 20% during California Closet's Autumn Upgrade event, making it easier than ever to transform your space with our select finishes. Whether it's a walk-in closet, home office, pantry, or garage, our designs are about more than organization. They're about creating space for what belongs. We call it practical magic, expert design that feels effortless. Visit one of our 3 Tampa Bay showrooms or schedule your complimentary consultation today at CaliforniaClosetsTampaBay.com.
Windows are created and installed with different levels of quality. You need quality that can withstand the tropical climate. Our installers only install PGT custom windows and doors, so we are the go-to experts. Don't take my word for it. We have been named Best of Tampa Bay 3 years in a row, Reader's Choice in Sarasota 3 years in a row, and nationally recognized as Window and Door Dealer of the Year. Price is what you pay, but value is what you get. Give WeatherTight Windows a call today, and don't forget the cookies.
With a fresh new look and over 60 years of keeping Floridians comfortable, Cool Today is the name to trust for fast same-day service. cooling, plumbing, and electrical. Our friendly expert technicians take the hassle out of home repair today. And Cool Today is here for you tomorrow, too. That's why we're introducing a parts and labor warranty on select AC systems for a lifetime. For cooling, plumbing, or electrical service, get the best from today and for years to come. Cool Today.
Welcome back, everyone. You're looking at a live picture here from the White House in Washington, D.C., the Washington Monument, right behind the White House. Well, maybe not right behind, but it's in the shot. So pretty cool, light little breeze there as well. You see a little bit of the foliage. Now, it is late for foliage, especially if you were in upstate New York or even in New Jersey, the Hudson Valley, whatever. But down in Washington, D.C., things obviously take a little longer to get those colors to change. And yeah, some pretty colors there. You even see the Potomac in the background as well.
Yeah, James, you were asking about my trip. So I just got back from New Mexico for all of our viewers at home. Let me tell you, the fall foliage there had the Northeast beat.
Oh, wow, really?
By a mile, yeah.
Wow.
Now, every year it's not always like that, but this year, maybe they were a little bit warmer than usual, but
and the Northeast was in a drought too.
Yeah.
So the colors, I was in Albany, New York a fair bit in September and October, and the colors in upstate New York in the capital region were They were mid, as the kids say.
Yeah, some of those trees are really sensitive. I like how you have the lingo going. Yeah, some of the trees are very sensitive. So if you have a cold snap that's too early, or it's warm for too long, or you don't have enough precip, or you have, whatever the case may be, all those different microclimates and all those different trees are affected by those different variables. So New Mexico, they are just showing off this year with their foliage.
Did you see any balloons? New Mexico, Albuquerque.
I did, little air balloons. So of course the festival's in October, but
I'm sure they're probably like practicing a good chunk of the year, right?
Yeah, and I think they do you can sign up for flights and whatnot. But then since we're in the holiday spirit here, there's a little countdown in case anybody's lost and they don't know what day it is. Boom. Thanksgiving's 8 days away. You're welcome. Christmas is about 36 days away, and we ring in 2026 and start the new year in just 43 days. Now, our average temperature is 77 for Thanksgiving Day, Christmas 74, and New Year's 73. So how are we going to be feeling, and I'm jumping ahead, James, here, for this Thanksgiving, since we were talking about the high temperature. Normally we were around 77, but this year looks like we'll be closer to 80, which isn't terribly above average.
No.
And it's going to be cooler than the next couple of days because we have a little fronty front moving through.
A little fronty front, not just a regular front, like a special front, fronty front.
Yeah. You like my play on words there?
I
Leftover light showers and cooler air on the menu.
How about that?
Yeah.
Look at that. Quite the wordsmith.
So, when you look at the actual temperature for Thanksgiving Day compared to how it normally feels, will be warmer than average. But when you look at this week, all the warm weather we've had up to Thanksgiving, this front is going to do the trick to cool us down just a couple of degrees from what we have been feeling.
And probably lower the humidity a little bit. We get a nice little northwestern breeze behind it, so kind of cool and refreshing. Actually feeling like late fall, which would be nice, right?
Yeah. Now, this is going to produce some